AITA for blowing up on my fiance in front of his family for getting my daughter's cat out of the house. I, female 35, got engaged to my fiance Eric M 37 2 months ago. He moved in with me and my daughter Zoe F 13. Everything was going well till he started complaining about Zoe's cat, which is strange because the cat is so sweet and quiet most of the time, and so I had no idea what the issue was exactly. Anyways, he went from complaining about the cat to making demands about her. He gave Zoe a list of places the cat can't go, things she's allowed to touch, banned her from places like kitchen and sofa. Zoe showed me this list and I had an argument with him telling him he needed to stop this because it was ridiculous. He ranted about this being his house too and how he expects things to change after we get married. A few days ago, I was at work and got a call from Zoe crying saying her cat wasn't in her room and in the house. I freaked out too and went home to look for her. Zoe and I looked for 2 HRS before a neighbor of ours brought her and told us that he saw Eric leaving her outside and getting in his car and leaving. I was surprised and quite angry. Zoe took her cat and went back inside. I immediately drove to my future in-laws' home where Eric said he'd be. The second I saw him sitting with his family, I went off and blew up at him in front of everyone. His mom asked what was happening and I told her son got my daughter's indoor cat outside the house, probably hoping for her to get lost. He argued about wanting me stop spouting nonsense and go home and we'd talk there, but I refused. It got worse and I ended up leaving after his family flipped out at him. He sent a bunch of texts talking about the stunt I pulled in front of his family. He said that he didn't mean to leave the cat out, but after checking the cams I confirmed it. He still insisted that I humiliated him in front of his family and tried to turn them against him. He's been staying with a friend and has stopped calling and texting. AITA for blowing up on him in front of his family. Story 2. AITA for having a snack. For background, I'm recovering from an eating disorder. Part of my recovery means that if I'm hungry, I need to eat. I need to get used to responding to hunger by eating. If I don't eat when I'm hungry, it can become a habit, and I could relapse. I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but it's the best way I can explain it. I always carry snacks to accommodate this. My boyfriend asked me to go to a family event with him at his aunt's house. Dinner was at 6:30, but the gathering started at 4 and we were on time. Around 5:30 I started to feel hungry, so I ate a small granola bar from my purse to reinforce the eat when you're hungry rule. Dinner was at 6:30 and excellent. When we left, my boyfriend was upset. He said I offended his family by eating a snack before dinner was served and implied they were bad hosts. He said I should have waited. I reminded him that I have to eat when I'm hungry. He said dinner was in an hour and should have been sufficient to enforce the rule. But it doesn't work that way. I have to eat as soon as I realize I'm hungry, or it's a slippery slope that could lead to me going days without food. Boyfriend was angry and accused me of just wanting attention and being inconsiderate. Should I have waited? Was I being too rigid? Update: we broke up. We had a long talk about what happened, and he couldn't acknowledge that I know what's best for my recovery. He said relationships are about compromise. I said that doesn't apply to my health. He said it applies to everything. I said we should give each other space. Thank you everyone. Without your comments, I wouldn't have had the confidence to stand up for myself. Story 3. AITA for yelling at my friend because she revealed the paternity of my son to his biological father and his family after I asked her not to. I have a 2-year-old son with my ex. He was honest and told me he didn't want to be a dad and that he believed he was too selfish to be a good one. I didn't want an abortion and he said he wouldn't force me to get one, so we came to an agreement. I would have the baby and he would help me financially, but I wouldn't expect anything else from him. My friend Nancy, who is a close family friend of my ex's, recently wouldn't stop asking me if my ex was my son's father since he looks like him. Only my family know he is, and I wasn't going to tell her at first, but Nancy is one of my best friends and I thought I could trust her. I asked her not to tell anyone as I didn't want it to be public knowledge. Despite agreeing not to, she ended up telling not only my ex about me supposedly hiding his baby from him, but also his entire family. It's caused a lot of issues, and my ex's family have a lawyer threatening to take my son away from me. My ex's family are influential, and I can't afford to fight them in court, so I'm genuinely terrified of them. Nancy tried to apologize to me after my ex told her he had always known about our son. I was so angry and upset that I just yelled at her until she left. I told her she was a bitch and that she had ruined my life. Nancy has been getting sympathy from some of our mutual friends who think I was too harsh since she thought she was doing the right thing by telling my ex, who is like family to her, that he had a child. AITA. Story 4. AITA for telling my neighbor to mind her own business. I'm a single mother to an 11-year-old girl. We recently got moved from the UK to America by my company, and it has been quite an adjustment, but we're settling in well enough. She misses her friends and the family we left behind, but we Zoom regularly and she has begun to make new friends. especially after I found her a new dojang to continue her taekwondo. All in all, everything was going fine except for one thing. Our next door neighbor is a som to 3 girls aged. She is quite nosy and always poking around and trying to talk to us. I put this down to just curiosity plus perhaps me misreading her intentions as I'm still adjusting to how people can be here. The issue came however 3 days ago where she came round and I let her in for some coffee. She tried to convince me to sign my daughter up some kind of preteen beauty pageant. I won't lie, I was shocked by this. I don't know anyone who does this kind of thing and they seem disgusting to me. I didn't want to be rude as apparently all 3 of her girls do it, so I didn't share that thought and instead I told her it really wasn't my daughter's cup of tea as she is a total tomboy and always wearing jeans and whatever gaming t-shirt she can find. My neighbor tutted at this and said she'd seen and commented on what a waste it was as my daughter was so pretty and I was letting her waste her potential with all those boy things. She even tried to suggest it was something our girls could bond over and how she'd teach her how to walk and dress and do makeup for it and how it would be much more fun than fighting and getting bruises. I won't lie, I was getting angry at this and told her that my daughter was much too young for that kind of thing and I wouldn't force her either as I knew she'd have no interest. She tried to say we should ask her and that I shouldn't make this kind of choice on my own, and implied that with how busy I must be at work it was normal girly things would slip by me and it's okay. At this point I told her to get out of my house, and to mind her own business and to not dare question how I parent my daughter. Bringing up I was polite enough not to say how disgusting I think it is she makes her daughters do those kind of pageants. This led to a lot of gasping and shocked anger from her before she stormed out. I've had a little time to cool off since then and maybe I snapped too easily. It's tough raising my daughter alone and I didn't like the implication I was failing her in some way, plus I know these shows are more common in America than the UK, so maybe I tripped over some cultural landmine. Since then every time she sees me and my daughter she gives us very dirty looks. Did I fuck up here? Should I try to mend the rift I caused? Maybe I misread what she intended to be kind as an attack. Still not letting my daughter do pageants though.